sato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is a resolution for spiritual living. When I chose this subject, there are two questions in my mind. Usually, resolutions are taken at the beginning of a year. I shall tell you why that is relevant today also. And second is that it is probably what is called a continuation of the theme of the talk that I had given earlier. That means I gave a talk about role model for spiritual living, or role model, what is the importance of role models in our life. But as a spiritual seeker, definitely we need one role model, or it is good to have a role model for our practices, or to begin with. So in that way, Rama's life, that means the great spiritual personality, incarnation of God, Rama's life is very relevant as a role model. And it is almost universally accepted, especially in the followers of Vedanta or Hindus, that Rama is considered to be an ideal person. And in that respect goes to him. There are other great spiritual personalities, but to follow them step by step sometimes may not lead to, or they may lead to some wrong steps also. We can misunderstand them. It happens like that. Because they did this, so I am doing this. If you say in that way, actually it will not work in the lives of, when following the lives of many spiritual personalities. It may happen. But Rama's life in that way actually is very good. That means if what Rama has done, if you do, actually there is a very less possibility that he will be faltering. That is the point. You usually quote a person, oh, he has done this, so that is why I am doing. My father did this, my brother is doing that, my professor did that, so I am also doing it. So there are examples, so I am following them. So in that way, we are trained. That means we always try to imitate or follow somebody who is well known, whom we like, or who has set an example. So in that way, it comes to that point. Now, I thought it will be a good topic to continue the same theme. That means to take a resolution for spiritual life. So that is why I chose this subject. Now the point is that I just told you that usually it is related, or usually take a resolution at the beginning of the year. Your first lecture of you will find in many churches, the first talk of the year is given on resolution. Of course, there are many types of resolution, and a resolution means for each person there will be different types of resolution. Somebody wants money, so he will find that, well, this year I shall work hard to earn more money. Or some person may think, oh, I am not very strong in my health, so I shall go to the gym every, what is called, at least 5 days in a week or something like that. Resolution will be taken. So in that way, they take a vow of something, if you call it, then they try to follow it. And of course, there are in magazines and newspapers, you will find in what way actually you have to select your resolution, and in what way actually you have to maintain that, and in what way actually, you may find that you have lost your resolution. Probably you will find that you have taken some resolution last year, And by the time 3 months or 4 months pass away, you will find that you have forgotten them. It happens like that. So different aspects of resolution are discussed at that time. My point is this, that when the year begins. Now the point is that where the year begins, that is the question. We are accustomed, or you are conditioned, you can say. Nowadays actually it is good to say, because of the media, we are accustomed to thinking that year starts from 1st January. The reason is that a multitude of the countries have selected the 1st January or month of January to be the beginning of the year because of Jesus Christ's birth. That means he was born in 25th December. So it will be good to have a standardized beginning of the year, and in that way, according to Gregorian calendar as it is called, many countries accepted that. Not only Christian countries, many other countries who are not Christians, that means most of the population do not follow the Christian faith. They also accepted that because they have to synchronize a relationship with different countries who have taken this calendar. So we can say that in the world now, beginning of the year starts with January. So it will be very common that everybody knows that, yes, beginning of the year means 1st January. But it is not really culturally, that is the point. From the point of view of culture, as we know, that Easter is considered to be, used to be considered, or in some culture actually it is observed as the beginning of the year. And there is good reason for that also. The reason is that it is a renewal, that means when winter ends and spring starts, it is a sort of change. Winter as if it is a time for sleep, or if you can say death also, that means some plants and all those things die also. So as if a resurrection is coming, that means a new creation is started. So in that way it has got, from the point of view of nature, we can very easily find out that there is good reason to have spring as the beginning of the year. And that used to be followed. If you go to the history of different nations, you'll find that in ancient times, that used to be the beginning of the new year in their culture. And those who are culturally conscious, or those who follow their own culture, or those who want to revive their culture or love their culture, they in their own way celebrate that as New Year, beginning of the year, around say at the end of the March or something like that. Vernal equinox as it is called, that means when the sun actually enters or crosses or on the equator, that is, it is coming on the northern side. Now another thing is this, that yesterday I had the opportunity of attending our New Year. And New Year actually is today. And then I did a little bit of research. The research is like this. In South Asia or Southeast Asia also, New Year is celebrated around the 14th of April. So you can imagine that India, then Southeast Asia means then Sri Lanka, then Myanmar, then what is called Thailand, Indonesia, all those countries geographically fall into that in that definition. So they actually celebrate their New Year around the 14th April. And the reason is this, that means in their country, in those countries actually, they feel the presence of spring during that time. And in India, of course, it is not, India is a very large country from the point of view of, geographically it is smaller than United States and China, but from the point of view of population, it is in between what is called China and United States. So it is quite large from the point of view of population. So culture belongs to the population, not the land. So naturally you can see that huge number of people will be following the beginning of the year during this time. That means 14th April or 13th, 14th, 15th. That means this is little bit solar significances. They are not totally lunar. So in that way it is celebrated. And many people celebrate that culturally. So I had the opportunity of going to a group of people who are from India and from Bengal, that means Kolkata side if you call it, and they celebrated their New Year with the worship their devotees. So they did or arranged one worship of the way we worship their devotees. So naturally performed the worship of Sri Ramakrishna, sang songs of Sri Ramakrishna, and of course there was a feast of food, cultural food, that means good food. Good dishes. That was of course a part of the celebration. All celebrations, if there is no food, no celebration. You cannot imagine any celebration without food. It is not possible. Food is very important. So just let me, to bring my point, nowadays it is very easy to bring the point from doing a little bit of research because of the internet. So it is like this, mid-April, spring in northern hemisphere. That means the new year of many South and Southeast Asian countries falls between April 13th and 15th, marking the beginning of spring. Then starting from Pakistan, that means in Pakistan there are pockets where still there are groups of Hindus, at least maybe 1/10 or 1/16 of the population will be Hindus. That means somehow they are surviving there, or they are not really reported much because there is nothing much to report. Then Tamil actually. We have a devotee who usually comes on Saturdays, occasionally on Saturdays, and I told him that, well, you have come, so do some voluntary work, I allow you this work and you do, but I am going out because I have been invited to take part in a celebration of this beginning of the year. That means what is called Vaishak, as it is called. First month starts with the name of the first month is Vaishak. So I told her, I am going, but you stay here, do work, have some lunch and attend satsang, all those things. Then he said that, well, our New Year is also today. So he said, I did not, I have heard probably, but I did not, at that point I did not remember that. So he belongs to Tamil community, that means who are residents of around Chennai, Madras. So that group of people actually also celebrate 1st January, this 1st Vaishak, that means 14th April. Then in Punjab, in North India, they call Vaishakhi. That means these Sikhs are there in large number in northern California. They are agriculturists and also in other profession. They have gurdwaras, sometimes they have big celebrations. Their year also begins during this time. Then Nepal. Nepal culturally is more like Indians, but it is definitely for a long time. It is an independent country. It never actually got subdued by British or any other foreign countries. That is a great, what is called, historically very important thing. So they also celebrate their New Year during this time. Then there are in India, there are different areas where Maithili, that means northern part of India, Assam is eastern part of India, then Orissa, that is also culturally important, that is on the eastern part, then Manipur, that is also another part, then Sri Lanka, at the southernmost part, it is a different country, but they also celebrate their New Year during this time. And there is another southern state is there which is called Kerala, Malayalis. They also celebrate their beginning of this time. So, and also outside India, this Burma, they have that, then Thailand also, then Laos also, then Cambodia also, and you will be surprised in some part of China also, they celebrate their New Year during this time. So it is a huge population, you can see. So it is not big, my point is that it is not irrelevant to celebrate beginning of the year during this time. So that is the point. Now, so for spiritual living, actually, it is very important to have some sort of resolution. Once you have selected one ideal, so naturally you want to live a spiritual life. The point is that we have to know that if you lead a spiritual life, it will be a very uncommon thing from the point of view of what is called general population. That Lord Krishna himself has said that out of 1,000 in Bhagavad Gita, we always remember that, out of 1,000, one person will seek. So we are really very unique, very small in number who are really seeking God. So the point is that it is so strange for other people if somebody is really pursuing a spiritual life. So there will be a lot of discouragement, that means strangeness. They will say that, well, what you are doing, we do not understand, and you are just wasting your time. We drink and meditate as long as we live. So all those things will be a sort of deterrent for us. That means it is really, we have to think about that. That means we are, from the point of view of general people, we are strange persons. So that means those who are really seeking spirituality. So naturally, those who are convinced, so for them actually it is a struggle, very struggle. That means you have to be very careful. But Lord Krishna, in another place, I think it in scriptures it has been said that once, somehow or other, a spark of the spiritual, following the spiritual path has come to you, try to nurture it. That means if you would just once in a while, probably in a dream, you can you have become a spiritual person and just let it go. But the point is, the scripture said, no, don't let it go. Just nurture it, because it is a very, very rare thing that you have got in your life. So how to nurture that? Naturally, there are many ways. That means, first thing is that you have to find out like-minded people, like-minded, what is called thoughts. In that way, actually, it can be nurtured, that we know. So the point is that once we have the desire, don't think that it is a queer desire that has come to us. So it is really a very important thing that has come, and it needs to be nurtured. So in that way, I sometimes tell a story of one of our devotees, So he does not come here, but I know him, and many our what is called devotees who are associated for a long time also knows him, and knows him by name also. So he says that, well, when he was a student, actually, he got the opportunity of knowing our Vedanta, and then he came in contact with our previous Swami Shraddhanand Maharaj. Then I got some advices, read books, got initiation. But the point is that he's married. His family, that means his wife, is not really very much supportive of, not only very much, that means she doesn't understand what he's doing. That is a simple way of saying. So there is always, he likes it very much, and he understands that this is the path that he needs to follow, and he has got all the materials means that needs to be done for the spiritual life, all those things he had acquired, but he cannot really practice. That is the difficulty. So in his house, it is difficult to do anything spiritual. So he said that, Swami, what shall I do? So he said, then he himself said that, well, when my wife actually sleeps, I actually unlock the drawer of my desk and take out the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, read a few pages and put it back. So this is the way that he had to, what is called, surreptitiously practice spirituality, you can say. This happens. That means so much. That means it is not the general public is against us. Even your family also will find that many people do not appreciate that. Not only appreciate that, they will discourage you also. It happens like that. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna also, you see, it so happened that when his family came to know that his family was a priestly family, so there is no problem in doing what is called priestly activities, like doing worship, rituals, and all those things. That is a way of they used to live. That is a living career for them, if we can say. So they earned money, so they needed to maintain their family in that way. That family was accustomed to that. So he took that profession, if we call it. But when he became very serious, that means to know God, whether God really exists, whether he can give, I can have, see God, all those questions came. So he started intense spiritual practices. And the family members thought that he must have his brain has got deranged, and all sorts of discouragement. Not only that, his mother actually brought him back to home. So he was doing priestly activities in Kolkata. So he brought him back and he heard that these strange things he is doing. So he thought that we must take care of that. So he brought him back and then actually got him married. That is the solution. That means when he gives his money to the family, a wife and all those things, naturally he will forget all those things. That was the idea. It happens. That means many people actually get distracted from their path when families actually discourage them. That has happened and it is happening. I know one person, what has happened? Yes. He actually a recent, that means it is not Sri Ramakrishna, just ordinary person like us. So he joined as a brahmachari in a center. And here, brahmachari means wanted to be a monk, a very novice. So he wanted to, but his family, not only family, his mother was so much upset. Not only upset, that means crying and all those things and whatever it may be. So in that way actually his mind actually, that young man's mind actually melted by seeing the mother's condition. So then he actually came back to the, left the monastery and followed what mother said. Then he of course followed the spiritual life in a way as a householder. So his son, two sons are there. One son sometimes comes here. And he said that, well, my father was like that, he had the opportunity of becoming a monk, but he missed it. So we are just devotees. So in that way, actually, the tradition has come. So the point is that there are definitely a lot of obstructions in the spiritual life. So that is why our scriptures have said that when you have a little bit spark of spiritual awakening, desire for following a spiritual life, thinking of God or search for God, you just nurture that. That has been said by your scriptures. And of course, then what to do? Then we see that next step will be that if you have that desire, you have to bolster it. That is the point. Bolster in a sense, that means what needs to be done, that has to be found out. So in case of Swami Vivekananda, you see that he was as such a seeker, but not that serious. Serious in a sense, that means he was trying agnostic, as it is called. He did not have knowledge, or he was not really convinced about the existence of God. So that is a very common thing. If somebody reads philosophy or sees a spiritual person, he hears lectures or reads books, so naturally a little bit of desire, question comes into the mind, whether it is really true or not. Even today I was asked by one of the devotees, she is sitting here, that, well, do you believe in Mahabharata? If not, you believe, then how actually you have got this Bhagavad Gita? That means which is the core of spirituality of millions and millions of people. So the point is this, that once actually we have that, it is important. And there are sayings by different, those who have practiced spirituality, they have said that be serious about it. So some of the sayings that we see that in the lives of Swami Vivekananda or Sri Ramakrishna also, we see that, well, he thought that, well, I can give up everything for the sake of realization of God. And he did that, that means with determination. And not only Sri Ramakrishna, Lord Buddha's life is a very good example for us. He was a householder, prince, that means he did not have any shortcoming of anything. That means whatever he wanted, it was available to him. And his father, when he was growing up, he was provided with that. Not only that, his education came to him. It is not that he had to go to Harvard or such other distant places to get education. Education came to him. He arranged all the teachers to come to the palace and teach him. And not only teaching, all the paraphernalia that is needed to be a king, all those things were taught to him. That means warfare, if you call it, then administration, if you call it, then actually legal things, if you call it, and all those things actually he was taught in his house. And he had a good, what is called a young wife, and married, and he was almost ready to take over as a prince. But we see that he, out of his curiosity, wanted to see the outside world, because his father was really very protective of him. Protective in a sense that he did not allow him. He had a sort of understanding from one of the astrologers. That means if he sees the sorrows of the world, he will actually, there is a possibility, it is not that he will be, there is a possibility that he may quit what is called householder's life. So his father did not take a chance, so he put all good things in what is called in his palace and other places where he used to live. So he did not allow him to see the real world, that is the point. The real world, as you know, it is not really always good. Good in a sense, it is not really, when you want to see the world by yourself, you will find many things which are not really what you have read. It may happen. If you go to India, oh, India is such a country, huge country, big country, all people are spiritual and all those things, but you will find that all people are really poor. Poor in a sense, that means they are roaming in the streets, probably. Culturally, you will see that they are doing something which will be shocking to you also. But the core thing is there, that is true. Those who go there with the intention of getting spirituality, definitely they will go. I have heard one gentleman who actually always deferring to go to India because he did not like to see poor people. Because begging, people are begging and food and all those things, that is very difficult to see. Here, poor people are there, but they are also taken care of. Those who are poor here, they are mostly mentally deranged, or probably they have voluntarily taken property. But they have arranged, they have bank account. I know that people go, that means these homeless people go to the bank and cash their checks also. I have seen that. So the point is that people are taken care of here. But in India, such a vast country, probably those people do not know even, probably they are not what is called, those who are supposed to take care of them, they cheat them also. It may happen like that. They do not communicate them properly, and in that way it happens. So the point is that to see the world with your own eyes, and what you read and hear with your ears and with your eyes reading, so it is a vast difference. So when Buddha actually came out, actually he saw, and his father was also remembered that. So he chose a path which was really a very good path in a sense. That means he arranged that he should not see any poor people, sick people, and such other what is called negative sin should not come to his side. He arranged things in that way. He was a king, so he ordered everything should be very joyous, festive, celebration, and all those things will happen. But somehow or other, people got interested. Princes coming out of the what is called palace. So people, all sorts of people were interested to see him. So those people also came. So he saw these poor people, he saw these sick people, he saw the old person. So in that way, he came to know the state of the world with his, saw the world with his own eyes. And that actually changed his mind completely. He never experienced any sorrow in his life. So when he saw these things, so he wanted an explanation from his friend who was actually driving his chariot, Chanda. He said that, yes sir, these things are there in the real world. People become old, people become sick, people die, all those things are happening. So that made him very thoughtful. I did not know those things, what are these? So then he thought that, well, I have to find out a solution. That means why people should suffer, why people should die, and why people become old. All those things, I need a solution. So in that way, actually, he left his home, as you know. That means stealthily, with the help of this friend, actually, he left his home. And then he had heard that there are persons who actually can guide him in finding a solution. So in that way, he came out of his palace and left the palace in a night. And then he crossed the whole kingdom and then in search of a teacher. He found teachers, as you know, but unfortunately he was not satisfied with them. That means they were what is called They had reputation as teachers, but he found that they are not really into the business of having the solution of the problem that he has. That means they wanted to teach, they want to preach, they have name and fame and all those things. So they were associated with that. That was also good. Some people actually do that. But he said that he is not really interested into that. Then actually he came on the bank of a river, which is on the eastern part of India, Niranjana river, which is known as Purgu nowadays. So he sat on and he tried. Tried means from the books and from the teachings, actually he found that if you do austerity, then actually you'll be able to realize God, or you'll realize your true self. You know, scriptures it is said that you control your senses, you control your mind, and you'll have the realization. So he did that, and he knew that, and he started doing that spiritual practices. And as we know, he actually meditated very much. Then after some time he thought that I am doing this, nothing is happening. So one day actually he took a resolution. That means, well, if I do not get what is called my problem is not solved, that means if I do not realize what is the true self, or what is how actually sorrow can be overcome, I shall not get up from the seat that I am sitting here. So in that way actually he sat down under a tree, and in that way we see that he had at that moment means after taking this vow, he had the highest rate. That means his problem was solved. That means he came to know what is the problem, what is the solution of this problem, and in that way he became Buddha. That means he became enlightened. Then of course we see that he preached what he learned, and that is the Buddhism. So this Buddha is a highlighted person, but it happens to many persons. That means those are small beings, that means ordinary persons, they also do like that. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we'll see that there are some persons who wanted to do that. And that means some people wanted to go to the bank of the river and do jopam, that means repetition of name, maybe 1,000 times, sitting continuously in one sitting on the bank, as long as it took to complete that repetition of 100,000. So this type of practices are not uncommon. That means people take vows and they do spiritual practices. These are resolutions. That means these are very important in spiritual life. Because as such our mind is not really very strong, so we need to, and also as I told you at the beginning, that means there are always discouragement. The atmosphere, we live in the atmosphere of discouragement, if you call it plainly. So we have to be strong in mind if we want to progress in spiritual life, if we want to do something in this life. That is the point. So some of the direct disciples, as we see, they have said to the disciples, those who came to him for spiritual instruction, so say Swami Prapannananda, be steadfast in your ideal even when the mind is restless. So day-to-day spiritual practice is very common and that needs to be done. But still you see that there is a way, just concentration is not coming, mind is restless and all those things, but still we have to be very strong. That means we have to be very particular about our practice. Keep the regularity of your practice under all conditions. Very simple advice. Probably a person who cannot go for a long time to do spiritual practice in a secluded place. So what that person will do? He will have to practice regularly under any circumstances or the circumstances in which he is really living. And the point is that you have to maintain that regularity. That is the very important aspect. Then in another place he has said, always practice your disciplines with unswerving steadfastness, and let not a single day pass without them. Whether you like it or not, sit down at the appointed hour every day. If you can continue your practices for 3 years with unerring regularity, I assure you that love for God will grow in you and you will feel yourself nearer to Him. So these type of advices are very practical advices. This is sort of a resolution. That means the teacher is encouraging the disciple to take a decision, a resolve, take a resolution that do like this. That means you will do practice regularly, steadfastness, and in that way, if you can really, is giving time limit also. That means it is very interesting. 3 years. That means it is just 3 years. Within 3 years, actually, you will see that you have made some progress. That is the point. You may not realize God, there are many other impediments, but still progress, that feeling of the progress actually you will definitely get if you continue this steadfast practice for 3 years, he is saying. Steadfastness is very important. Without it, no success is possible. By steadfastness alone, the mind becomes absorbed in God. Unless absorption is achieved, freedom from the temptations of the world is not possible. That is also another aspect. That means if you do not have a taste for spiritual life, actually you will not really get rid of the taste for the worldly things. So it has to be understood, or it has to be felt. It has to be tested, if you call it. That is probably the best word, though it is a different word. You have to test a little bit of the spirituality to get rid of the temptations of the world. That means which are really dragging you back. So if you get the test, actually you will be able to figure out that, well, yes, these things are there, it will come and go, but I know what it is that I am following. Then actually it will be good. You are in a good position for continuation of spiritual practices. Then so in this way we see that there are many ways by which the teachers have said. So some of the advices or impediments that come, let us talk about that a little bit. What are the impediments that has been experienced by the spiritual teachers, and they have given us advice? Yes. Obstacle, that means be practical. How actually now, if you see that you have to be steadfast in your practice, so naturally you have to handle the things which are happening around you. So one is this, obstacles in the path of spiritual life. Number one is attachment to people. So you can apply your mind, that means, well, I am not progressing in spiritual life. Let me see what are the things with which actually my mind is occupied. So attachment to people. That means, you know, we have movie stars, we have political leaders, we have many other, what is called, as I told you, role models in different areas of our lives. So you have to know where to attach your mind, with whom actually you have to attach your mind. Not to say about the people with which actually you are living. So that attachment actually we have to figure out, and then actually we can see, we can figure out, that means how actually they are obstructing or they are conducive. Some attachment is good, that is called holy company. So Sri Ramakrishna has said that first step in spiritual life to seek holy company. That has been said. It is Sri Ramakrishna's not invention or discovery or what is called, probably it is a repetition, because all the great spiritual teachers have said at the beginning it is very important to have holy company. We are reading this Uddhava Gita. The basic teaching of the Uddhava Gita you will find at the end is Lord Krishna is advising, be always with some holy company, have holy company. And this Uddhava, that this friend and disciple, used to have the great opportunity of living with Lord Krishna. So that actually saved him. So the point is that attachment to people, that means the people who are not really spiritual by nature, that means for work purposes it is good, we are compelled to meet different types of people, that is a must. But association as such, with the hope of spiritual life, actually we have to figure out with whom actually we should associate ourselves. Then there are bad memories and instincts also. There are certain instincts that which actually is not helpful. Eating, drinking and all those things, as you know, they are not really, some of them practices are not helpful for the control of the mind. So we have to figure out, and slowly you have to get rid of them. And of course, bad memories also there. That means all the memories that with which we are living, some of the memories we do not know how it has come, some of the memories that has happened in our life may not be very happy. So this we have to discard. Discard means mind has a great advantage. Great advantage is that it is according to our Vedanta. Actually, it is according to our philosophy. All philosophies actually accept that mind actually can concentrate on one thing at a time. That means if you are thinking of, say, this piece of paper, actually you are not thinking other things. That means it is not possible for the mind to concentrate on multiple things. So we take advantage of that. So when the mind continuously goes to different things which are not really useful, so we can find out one thing which is very useful and just make a habit of thinking that. And that is we do in spiritual practices. So in that way, the other things which are disturbing, that means to which actually mind is getting attached, slowly they will lose their power and actually they will, they will go away in that way. The point is that they will remain, but they will not disturb you. That is the point. As things happen, that means any memory, actually you cannot lose it. That is the point. Any experience, you cannot lose it. That is a theory, sanskara. But if it is disturbing, actually the way it can be handled is to have good memories, good things, so that the unwanted thing actually goes back and sinks down. But it will remain there, but it may happen in this way that if opportunity comes, it may come back also. So we have to be very careful not to have the opportunity, giving that opportunity to coming its back. So these are the practical things. Then if some people are very social, and people like talking, mixing, going to this club and other things, and in that way they spend many time. That is actually probably from the point, under certain circumstances, it is necessary also, but from spiritual point of view, it is not really very helpful. So that is the point. That means we have to be very careful not to be very social, because we are always getting influenced of different types of forces, if you call it, different types of thoughts which are not really conducive. Again, this holy company actually help you. That means holy company means good thoughts you are getting from somebody, and that is spiritually beneficial. Then desire for heaven also. That means good things will come to me if I do spiritual practices. So many people go and pray and in this life even, that means let me have a good job or good house or great amount of money and all the other, I can go to such and such place. All those desires are there, and in that way actually they do spiritual practices. They are actually what is called breaking their head at the feet of Lord for these things. You'll find it is very common. That means desire for enjoyment. Actually, Lord Krishna has said that is not bad as such, but that is very beginning. That means they are remembering a little bit of Lord, but they are expecting too much. That means which is not really useful in spiritual life. So in this way, we see there is a great some catalog that has been that we find that has been given by spiritual teachers through their experience. Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, you will find that he himself practiced spirituality just as a novice. That means when he came to become a priest in the Kali temple, he did not have an inkling in his mind that he will be a realized person, what to save an avatar. That means that type of thing was not there in his mind. But as things unfolded, actually we see that he had such a great acquisition of spirituality that you can say that as if we have offered him the post of an avatar. It has happened like that. Because comparing to the other spiritual person, he is not really a small spiritual person. So the point is that they also practice these things, and whatever they have said are really practical. That means they have experienced through their life, they have experienced these things, so they have shared these things for the posterior. Lord Buddha is also like that. That means he used to remember 500 of his past lives. So he used to draw instructions or examples from his 500 past lives. So that is, in that way, he used to teach. So the point is that experiences of these great personalities have come down to us, and really we can utilize them for our own spiritual growth. And in that way, actually, if we resolve to a spiritual life, there will be impediments, but there are ways also that they have said that they have overcome these impediments, and that way actually they led their spiritual life. And those who lead the spiritual life or resolve to spiritual life, by taking the help of their teachings, they also will be able to reach the goal.